from PRX.
All right, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to talk about Woods, L, in the musical about Woods, L. Elle Woods, Legally Blonde. If any of that, if you say, what is sleepy about that? I say, well, don't worry. It'll take me forever to get there. But if you're new, welcome to Sleep With Me. It's a podcast to put you to sleep, to keep you company. It's very different than what you may expect. It's kind of like sitting around with a friend who you say, okay, tell me about your past couple weeks. Well, I saw Legally Blonde, the musical, 5 times. Okay. Really? Yeah, I'm going to tell you all about, well, I'll start telling you all about it, but it'll probably take me an hour to get going. Perfect. I'm about to take a nap. Is that okay? You're going to take a nap while I tell you about Legally Blonde, the musical? Yeah, that was my plan. You see, that's how, well, is this Sleep With Me, the podcast, or is this a real world? In the real world, I'd expect you to listen to me. No, this is Sleep With Me podcast. Oh, okay. If I'm just doing an episode of Sleep With Me podcast, that's fine. Yeah, so I'll talk about that. So it's kind of the sense of the show. If you're new here, welcome. Like I said earlier, it takes a few tries to get used to this show, but I'm glad you're here. I really hope this podcast can help you out if you've been having trouble sleeping. And what the way it works is we'll have some support, then we're having a long meandering intro that'll ease you into bedtime. And then after the intro, I'll talk a little bit about Dan Harmon's Story Circle, Story Structure and Sleep Podcasts, and then the first act of Legally Blonde, the musical. And I'll be here about an hour, and this is the kind of a podcast that you just barely listen to. So I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard. We're able to do this twice a week in this ad-supported version because of people that support the sponsors, support the show directly, send out their kindness, spread the word about podcasting in general or about this show. And I'm really happy to be able to help you on a regular basis, or if you're new, to give it a try and see how it goes. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here, and these are a couple ways we're able to do it for you. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this episode today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. All right, everybody, you've heard me talk about my bed. I have the Helix Dusk Luxe. I absolutely love it. And I love working with Helix. We've been working for Helix year after year after year. I sleep in a Helix bed every night. I absolutely love it. I'm comfortable. But it's a bed fit for me and how I sleep. Helix isn't going to just sell you one mattress. They're going to sell you a mattress that fits you, your sleep needs, how you sleep, your feel preferences, what's going to make you comfortable so you can have a great night's sleep. And everybody starts off with these resolutions in the new year. But think about it. You sleep in your mattress, your bed, every single night. And here's something you could do in the new year. Get yourself a brand new mattress that fits your needs. And you know you're going to follow through on it because you're going to get in that bed every single night and you're going to be comfortable. And all you need to do to kick your new year off with some great sleep is to take that quiz, helixsleep.com/sleep. But when I took it, I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach. I don't want to get overheated. And I got matched with the Helix. I picked the Helix Dusk Luxe. So start your new year off right. Get yourself a new bed. It's going to last you into 2025 and beyond. It's going to come straight to your door, shipped in a box, free of charge. And this is a commitment that's easy to follow through on because you're going to be getting in that bed and getting cozy night after night. And here's all you need to do. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with mattress purchase. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with mattress purchase. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Hey everybody, this is Scoots. This is where I tell you, hey, if you want to support the show, if you rely on the show, you're hearing me and you believe in supporting the show, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And it'll take you 3 clicks to sign up and support the show. But I'm going to read through why Carrie supports the show. And maybe you'll relate to that and you say, oh, yeah. So Carrie says, I'm a Jane of all trades with dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm paraphrasing. Of course, listening to Scooter calms me down when it's time to sleep and gives my brain and body a time to rest, which is incredibly important to me. I figured something that brought me comfort in the deep, dark night deserved to be supported. It was hard for me to pick up my credit card and take the steps to support the show because I was cozy and getting ready for bed. But I made it a priority because I would have regretted it if this show couldn't go on and I hadn't done my part. Scooter and the crew at Sleep With Me put their hearts into their work. And just like your local barista or taxi driver, they deserve a tip. Your regular contribution can make a big difference for the longevity of the show and for countless people who rely on the podcast but can't afford to support it financially. If you have room in your budget for this sweet little treat for yourself, think about how nice it will be to support the show and enjoy it ad-free. It feels great to support the show because I know I've done my part to keep it going. I would be sad and regretful if I found out Scooter and the crew could not keep the show going because they didn't have enough support. People like Carrie help keep the show going. If you relate to what Carrie says, you could go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus and sign up. Or if you don't believe in doing that for Sleep With Me, think about doing it for something else that positively impacts your life that's made by a small business or an independent creator, someone that puts a lot of work into something that you really enjoy and you want it to be there a year from now or 2 years from now. So thanks, Carrie. Oh, Mr. Bart, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bart. Hey, this is Scoots with breaking news. If you get sleep phones, send me a message through the contact form on our website with your receipt, or let me know what Sleep With Me model you got, and I'll give you a free trial of Sleep With Me Plus. And if you get, like, depending on which version you get, it'll be 3, 6, or 12 months, depending on which model of sleep phones you got, but only if you use our link, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. You'll save $5 on sleep phones, and you'll get a trial of Sleep With Me Plus, an extended trial of Sleep With Me Plus. So if you sign up, you buy sleep phones, the best way to listen to Sleep With Me over the holiday season. Make sure to send me a message through the contact form on our website. Thanks. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble, staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. That could be thoughts, things you're thinking about, thoughts about the past, the present, the future, thinking thoughts, or thoughts that are rambling thoughts, specific thoughts. It could be feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally related to those thoughts, feelings that are left over from the day, feelings that are just making an appearance, feelings. Oh boy, there's been songs about feelings, right? Does Barbara Streisand have a song about feelings? Or does that be about people? I got feelings about people. Holy cow. So feelings about people, it could be physical sensations. It could be people too. You could be sleeping next to somebody who's sound asleep already. And while we're so happy for them, we're also, oh boy, are we happy for you. Oh, you're snoring so soundly. Yeah, we're really happy for you, but we are on some level. So it could be that person, but we're going to distract you from that eventually. But it could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be working a different shift. You could be traveling. You could have guests. You could be going through something. And the only reason I talk about this kind of stuff or go through it is because you deserve to know, and this is just from my perspective, as lonely as it can feel or isolating or, man, nobody gets this. Nobody knows what it's like for me at bedtime. I want to let you know that maybe somebody out there does, or here's the thing. I'm pretty sure someone out there does. If I can't relate to how you feel, because I may be able to relate to even the underlying feelings if I haven't been through something similar. I think that there's someone out there listening somewhere in the world right now who can relate to how you feel, and they really feel for you. And if you're new, they're glad you're here, and they say, man, I hope this podcast can help you like it helped me. If you're a regular listener, it's kind of like seeing a friend in the deep dark night, like, hey, glad you're back. You know what I mean, though? I'm not glad you're back, but I really hope this podcast can help. I'm glad we're here together. Maybe more like that. Glad we're here together. So, I don't know why that is so important to me as a maker of this podcast, but it is. I mean, and trust me, I've had a couple nights this week where I couldn't sleep, and it wasn't even, I don't even know what it was. It wasn't thoughts or feelings. Maybe after a while it became physical sensations, but that was after I was already having a strong reaction and not being able to fall asleep. But 2 nights in a row, I just couldn't fall asleep. I had cut caffeine out early and everything. And I don't know, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's thoughts, sometimes it's feelings, sometimes it's physical sensations, and sometimes it's just beyond me. So however, whatever you're here for, I hope this show can help you out, I guess is my thing, because I know it's not great. And I also know that you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place where you get the rest you need so your life is more manageable, so that you tomorrow you're not as tired, and that your life, you could be out there living your life. That's important. I mean, if you're out there flourishing in the world, that means our world's a better place to be in. That's a pretty important thing. And I hope, you deserve bedtime where you don't have to dread going to bed. On the third night for me, after 2 nights like that, it's like, oh man, I don't even want to go to bed. So at least if you become a regular listener, if this podcast does help you, I say, well, at least I got that dude. Is he really going to ramble about Legally Blonde and not even be able to get through the whole musical? Is he going to talk about a musical in real time again? And I say, well, almost. I mean, I guess the episode's almost as long as the first act, but I don't talk about it the whole time because I go on so many tangents. I hope this podcast can help you. That's what I mean. Whatever you're here. The way it works is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents, which means I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to forget what I was talking about. Then I'll double back. I'll say, wait a second. What was I talking about? I'll use a lot of filler. Sleep With Me, it's like filler up with filler words. I got a wagon through I had a wagon full of filler words, but I spilled it everywhere. That kind of sounds like a country song, too. Maybe, was that one that Emmett Otter and the Jug Band Christmas never put out? What is it? Oh, no, theirs was I had a bucket full of filler words, and they all spilled out. Something like that. They said, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to market with all these filler words. Mama Otter said, Scooter, take these, I've been working on these filler words. You seem to naturally produce these filler words, but I've cleaned them and prepared them for sale. And now I just need you during the waking day to take this wagon full of filler words down to market. And then we won't no longer, because we want to get music. Your brother Emmett's got a musical talent, and we can't be, we prefer not to put a hole in the wash tub anymore. And I'd say, Mama, are you sure don't you think I'm the least qualified person to take, come on, Mama. Like, can't Emmett bring he's got he's got band practice. Then I would probably get back with the wagon, and I'd feel like she'd be like, are you sure you didn't spill those filler words by on purpose? Well, no, Mama, I was just, I was daydreaming. What were you daydreaming of? Really, Mama, do you want me to tell you? Yeah, please, Junior. That I was in the River Bottom Fun Time Band, like that I was a lead singer. And at the contest where Emmett and his buddy that plays the jug plays. What kind of Otter dreams of those things? I don't know. But then then all of a sudden I forgot. I was like, wait, am I pulling a wagon? And then she said, I thought you were making a sleep podcast intro. Yeah, full of filler words. So I had to get rid of some of the filler words. Thanks for the help, Mama Otter. No problem, Scooter. It's a good thing you're my imaginary. There's nothing I've ever been more grateful for than the fact that you're my imaginary son. No problem, Mama Otter. Job done. Okay. So I send my voice across the deep dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, which we just witnessed one. I don't even know how I got there, but we go off topic. I get mixed up. And this is a show that does take some getting used to. One, because it's a podcast you just barely listen to. Like, you kind of barely listen to it, which is different than a regular podcast that you actually pay attention to. It's kind of like background noise, like a TV on in the other room, or you're streaming something under your pillow with your phone turned down, or a friend talking, and you say, can you just talk for my benefit, but I'm not going to pay attention to you. Yeah, I could try. Could you do that 2 or 3 times a week? Well, there's a guy that does a podcast. He's been doing it like 11 years, I think. Really? Okay. Let's see if we could get him over here. Well, I don't know. He's wandering around. He's been asked by Mama Otter not to return until he collected all the meanders. Meanwhile, Emmett Otter, did you hear Emmett Otter's new hit single? It's called "My Brother's Finally Gone." No, it's I don't know, something about spilling something out of a wagon. Which is the song? That's like in parentheses, that part. It's "My Brother's Finally Gone." And little does he know that I don't know what the Rivertime Fun Time Band would say. Okay, anyway, so what was I saying? It does take some getting used to listen to a podcast. Even, if you've never had a friend that's bored you to sleep before, you're in for a treat. This will be your first time. So not only does it take some getting used to, but for most people, and this is people that support the show directly that have told me this, and I mean a lot of people, It takes 2 or 3 tries. At first, you're probably skeptical. You might be doubtful. You might be like tired and grouchy if you're anything like me. And you found your way to this podcast via search, or somebody told you about it, or you just stumbled upon it, like kind of like me out there with the meanders. I'm like, I'm sniffing daisies. Meanwhile, the wagon full of meanders is rolling away. Luckily, I mean, if I was at band practice, that wouldn't have been a problem. But apparently, actually, factually, I have no musical talent. So Mama was right. It's a different version of Mama Tried. Mama tried to send me out with the wagon full of meanders, but it's only me to blame, So, okay, where was I? I got meandered. You've been meandered. Oh, most people don't like this show. And when they first get here, because you're skeptical, you're doubtful, you have some reasonable expectation of what a sleep podcast would be. And then you kind of get here and I'm rambling. So it just takes some getting used to realize, when he was talking about walking around with those filler words, it wasn't a wagon. He even forgot he had a wagon full of filler words, not meanders. He was meandering with a wagon full of filler words. He was serious about it. His show is always going nowhere. Now I get it. And then there's another realization, which is like, I had no idea something like this could exist. And this works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, right? I wish it did. I wish I could help every person that couldn't sleep in the world. But the people it works for, they're like, whoa. Like I didn't know I was looking for this my whole life. So I hope that's you, but to find out if it's you, it usually takes 2 or 3 tries. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries over years. It's just, people have a strong reaction to this kind of stuff. Now, if your reaction is so strong, you've passed the point of no return. I do have a website set up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you, which has other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there, because you still deserve a good night's sleep, even if you don't like me or the style of the show, or it doesn't help you out. I want you to sleep. So that's there. The other thing, so this is a sleep podcast, and I've been doing this a long time, but this show actually doesn't put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep, to take your mind off of stuff over here while you fall asleep over there. Like, there is no pressure to fall asleep with this show. I'm going to be here over an hour for a reason, because there's people who are listening who need a break during the day or who can't sleep at all, kind of like me the past couple nights. And I'm here to be here. I'm here to be here to the very end of the episode, whether you're listening or not. I really think that's what works about the show. I'm here for you to barely entertain you, but you don't need to listen to me. And I'm here to be your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore bud, your neighbor, your bore bee, your bores. What was that? Your Borloff, your Boris Borloff, Chorus Borloff, your best bore friend forever, your bore sib, your bore bra, whatever it is. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep. Or if you need if you need me during the day, or if you wake up and you can't sleep. So those are the important things to know about the show. Most people don't like it. It takes some getting used to. Doesn't work like it's supposed to. Because, I don't know, for me, there's so much pressure around sleep and expectations. The expectation with shows, I'm just here for you to keep you company and barely entertain you. And maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. Also, the other thing I want you to know about is the structure of the show, just so I can get to meet you where you are. If you're new or you're a regular listener, I do explain this every episode, but it's still like, I don't know. I just want to make sure you know why the show's structured the way it's structured and how you could change it if you become a regular listener and you're like, I'd prefer it this way. So the show has 3 main parts. The greeting, which is friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And then I say something silly, which kind of gives you a sense you're welcome here and the nature of the show. So that's the first part of the show. Then separate from the three parts of the show is support. Most people prefer to listen to an ad-supported version of the show linearly. So then there's support. If you prefer something without ads, you could get that at Sleep With Me Plus. Then after that is a long, meandering intro. Now, the intro is meant to introduce you to the podcast unsuccessfully, because then I get a wagon full of filler words and I wander around with it. And then I start having, these things just start appearing in my brain. Mama Otter, my jealousy of Emmett Otter. Somehow I found a journal, like a fan fiction journal, somewhere in my brain. So there's a otter in my brain. No, there's a part of my brain that writes fan fiction as a journal about Emmett Otter's brother, who doesn't necessarily exist, but it's in there somewhere. And he doesn't seem to be the most happy. He's relatable to me, but not the most happiest fellow. What did they have to? Oh, the structure of the show. The intro goes on and on and on. It's a show within a show where it follows a familiar structure every time, but every intro is different. So it has familiarity and variety, which I think are two important things for a sleep podcast. It also has a wind down period. So the intro doesn't put most listeners to sleep. It does put a small percentage of listeners to sleep, but for most people, it's a part of their bedtime wind down, easing into bedtime, getting ready for bed, or doing a chill activity. And that's what's just been shown to work. And what's been frustrating when I can't sleep and I say, wait, I'm following my wind down time. What's up? But that's what the intro is. If you find out, like you become a regular listener, you can listen to free like an ad-supported version of the show, story only, bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. Or if you listen on Sleep With Me Plus, you get an entire podcast full of story-only episodes, in addition to full episodes without ads and other stuff. But for most people, the intro eases them into bedtime. It's a time to hang out, get to know one another, listen to me ramble, see where I get mixed up and go off topic. Then there's support. Again, most people prefer this ad-supported version, and they listen to it. Maybe they set a sleep timer for 45, 60 minutes, 30 minutes. So after the support is our bedtime story. Tonight will be about the first act of the musical Legally Blonde, and kind of looking at the Dan Harmon's story circle and story structure. So, and then I'll be here, like that'll end in about an hour or an hour from when we started, a little bit more than that. So that's the structure of the show. That's why I make the show. I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard. So do a bunch of other people. We really yearn and strive to help you fall asleep. It really means a lot to me because I hear from people that are struggling in the deep, dark night, particularly people that listen to the show in this ad-supported version linearly, or people that have supported the show for years. And I'm just glad to be able to help, especially to something I can unfortunately relate to. So I'm really glad you're here. I appreciate you coming by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do it for you twice a week. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. I want to make this short and sweet. If Sleep With Me helped you find rest or ease in the deep, dark night, I don't know if you knew this, but the main way we keep making this show and the main way you could support the show when you say, I love this podcast, I want it to be here for me whenever I need it, how can I support it? Scoots, how can I help you? Because you help me so much. If you're asking that question, the best way to help the podcast is by going to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus and joining Sleep With Me Plus, because it's a two-way street at Sleep With Me Plus. You're going to get the best listening experience you possibly can. There's ad-free full episodes, story-only episodes. If you listen all night, Sleep With Me Plus is much better for that. If you like to pick episodes out of our entire catalog, so if you're saying to yourself, man, this podcast helps me out so much, how can I help it back? I want to feel good about it. I already feel good about it. You can do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thank you. All right, hey, buddy, this is Scoots here, and this is a style episode we haven't done in a while. But I've been meaning to do it for a long time. So I'll do a little bit of setup here, and then we'll go into the lulling details. So just this past 2 weekends, my daughter performed in a musical, Legally Blonde, the musical. And my daughter's a theater kid. She's been in a lot of shows over the years, and I go to a lot of the performances. And every performance I try to, I really start to appreciate the nuance, all the acting and the singing and the dancing. But I also start to really appreciate the story of the musical because I'm watching it so many times, right? Kind of like a TV recap podcast. And at some point during these musicals, I do start to think about the storytelling structure, particularly Dan Harmon's story circle. So I'll touch on that briefly and then more in depth. We did do a really in-depth episode about that back in 2016, I guess it was. Holy moly. Is that when it was? 2016? Man. Maybe we'll re-release that episode around the time this episode comes out. I don't know. But, so when I'm watching the musical, I do try to pay attention to the story, but I have this issue with everything, where I don't really, that's what makes me skilled for a sleep podcast is I don't necessarily, my retention of things and my processing works differently than that. So it's, but I kept paying a lot of attention to this musical. It's a really good musical. And this will be separate. This is in a review. But I really think it's a good musical. The performance I went to at Corsa was really good with the dancing and the dance breaks and the music. So shout out to anybody involved in that production, either the youth or the adults. And I'll link to that. But probably wherever you're listening to this, there's probably is within the next 6 to 12 months a performance of Legally Blonde, the musical, going on at some high school or youth theater or local theater. So I highly recommend checking that out and checking it out in general. I mean, I don't necessarily think there would be Sleep With Me without local performances and the people that love performing. It wouldn't have those going to those things kind of showed me actually a painful gap. Seeing other adults of varying ages following through on something in their spare time after work, knowing I wasn't doing that actually eventually motivated me to change and make Sleep With Me. So we owe Sleep With Me to theater kids who became adults as well as theater kids. So let's talk about Dan Harmon's story circle and story structure briefly. Hopefully I won't go on a 25-minute tangent about this in a positive way, but and why is story structure important for a sleep podcast briefly. Okay, let's start with the why. I'll try to do this briefest of brief is why is story structure important to a sleep podcast? You may be wondering, or hopefully you're just barely listening right now. But if you are, it's a legitimate question. It's a question I've get asked at varied degrees of intensity, including, even though I've been doing this a long time, people telling me that it's not essential to the show. But I believe it actually is for two reasons: the effectiveness of the show and the ability to make the show. So, while Sleep With Me's episodes do not follow a strict structure, they do tend to follow structure, and I have used my own kind of version of Dan Harmon's story circle or the hero's journey or whatever as a part of my outlining process. But, okay, so why from the listener side, and again, I always say this, I could be Don Quixote, so that's fine. And if I'm fine with being Don Quixote of sleep podcasts, and chasing these windmills because it gives me purpose and makes me able to do the work, which is the second layer. But it's my belief, I don't want to get too deep into this, but why have people been telling bedtime stories, and why do people tell each other stories? Why do we tell children's stories? And at bedtime, are we, without a sleep podcast, telling ourselves some sort of story when we can't sleep, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, or something else? And I believe that part of us, like a narrative is important to us. Maybe I could be wrong, or I could say for me, but I do believe it because I'm making the show for you. So, and I think like narrative typically has a structure, and that structure offers some sort of reassurance. And it's just something our brains are naturally doing. I think, I mean, it's harder to see when it's an internal story about ourselves and we're all of the stakes and all the characters, like, you know what I mean? If it's thoughts, feelings, or physical sensations that are keeping us awake. Now, that's not the only reason you can't sleep, because I haven't slept in a couple days and I don't even know what, I haven't been thinking. I just haven't been able to sleep. I haven't had thoughts, feelings, or physical sensations blocking me from sleep. So I realize that, but then at the same time, that narrative structure can offer comfort and familiarity. And again, what I believe with sleeping me is like that works whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're listening or not. And while this ad-supported free podcast isn't great for all-night listening, it's just not really designed for that, there are a lot of people that listen all night long. And I don't know. So I just think like having some sort of familiar structure, I don't know, puts us at ease. It's familiar because that's how stories are structured. It doesn't have to be perfect or whatever, especially with Sleep With Me. But it's also, and again, this is hard to understand as a listener, but there's a lot that goes into making this show and a lot of effort. And if it doesn't have narrative structure, it's not this show is not a matter of me just sitting down for an hour, hitting record, and then being done. There is a lot of thought, effort, and rigor that goes into making the show, even when I'm recording it. And just sitting down and riffing for an hour would not be sustainable. Like I could do that I could have done that for maybe 6 months or a year. Well, I mean, even a few months into the podcast, we found the structure of not just making the episodes, but releasing the episodes. Because it's like, tough to describe if you're not in my shoes, but like the idea of talking for an hour where I don't know where I'm going, like structure, even in the improv episodes we do, like this one is kind of an improv episode. I mean, I have a bunch of research, but I don't have I have a generalized outline. So like without that structure, it would be it would take me out of the relaxing flow, because I'd constantly be like, well, when do I end this or whatever? And I just don't think it would work for the people that Sleep With Me works for. Now, there's like when I started the show, this wasn't really a thing. Boring stories for adults, bedtime stories for grown-ups. Maybe there was like, it just wasn't a thing. So now, and one of the things like when people heard about Sleep With Me, it's like, oh, I can do that too, because I'll just be really boring. And that might work for some people, but I don't believe it's what works about Sleep With Me. And it's not, I'm not capable of doing that. So I think that makes sense, right? So the reason the show is structure is because I believe that maybe we're wired for structure on some level. Maybe it helps us relax. Maybe, or particularly if you already have some sort of narrative in your head, even if it's not a well-structured one, having an external narrative where you have no stakes, like that's why people will listen to sitcoms or whatever, or procedurals, is like they put a TV show on, is because there's you don't have any stakes in that. And so having a story that's distracting where you don't have any stakes in it. It helps you fall asleep. That's just my belief. Okay, so then we get into story structure, and there's a lot of different story structures out there. And over the years, I've used different ones. There's a few I haven't used, and like there was other writing I was doing before I made Sleep With Me, but I did kind of like, and structure's not going to solve everything, right? But I think at some point, like, yeah, I've heard about like Dan Harmon, who made Community and makes Rick and Morty, like was talking about like how he adapted his version or just his thoughts on the hero's journey in a kind of a easier explained version of it, right? All right, let me look at my notes here because that'll help. But whatever, I said, okay, this works. And particularly for me, like nowadays, if you listen to I guess I don't want to get too much into breaking stories for Sleep With Me because I talk about it at the end of every season of everything we do. But yeah, I still kind of use this basic model now. I don't know. I just like it when it's like I'll write for a while and I'll be like, okay, what's the structure of this episode? And then I'll make I'll take a page into 4 sections and start going around. Okay, so let's see. I pulled all this off the internet here. Okay, a simplified version of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And should we run through it? Well, the shortest version is you need, go, search, find, take, return, change. So 8 basic story moments, right? And then the one thing is like you or the character you is in like in their normal world, ordinary world, comfort zone, need. Hey, I need something or something's not right. Go, crossing the threshold, entering the new world, or somebody we don't know comes to town or whatever. Search, rising challenges, I don't know, trials and tribulations, proving, I don't know, particularly in this one. And I think, and once we get into these ones, it's like where you don't have to be strict about, especially with Sleep With Me, where these start to fall, but they do tend to fall this way. Okay, find, this is like, where they this is a Dan Harmon's writing about it. They get what they wanted, but it wasn't what they expected or not how they expected or whatever. Well, boy, does that apply to this musical or what? Take the consequences. Okay, let me read a little bit more about this because this is one of the harder ones, right? They've gotten what they wanted, but now there's consequences to their actions. They got to pay a price. Whether it's giving something up or facing their inner challenges. Lights could be off for this moment. And they see the non-positive impact of their journey. But this is the big part of it, right? And this gets interesting into this musical. Okay, so then you got return, the journey home. They start to make their way back to the ordinary world, but they're not the same person. They're changed, fundamentally different, which comes up in 8. Change to the new normal. They return to original setting, but they're transformed. Okay, and that can be metaphorical, right? What else do we need to know? I think it's pretty good. It's really cool. And unfortunately, like the only time I met Dan, I was like more caught in my own nervousness, and I hadn't practiced much small talk. So I wasn't like at my best to be able to talk about this stuff. I mean, I probably need like, I'm like a, overthinker. So we didn't really Dan tried to talk to me about it, actually, about the episode I did. But I was kind of like, So, okay. So, what's interesting to me when I was watching Legally Blonde, the musical, and thinking about this structural model for stories is, okay, I think there's 20 songs in the musical, 11 in the first act and 9 in the second act. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And how do the songs fall? And again, when we get into the mid and late mid parts of the story, that's where it gets difficult to analyze for me, because that's why telling a good, complete story is so difficult. And so it's cool to have a model that kind of is helpful like this, but that's why good stories are so rare, right? And I mean, particularly I talked about, like, as I was getting towards making this podcast and trying to figure out screenwriting and all that, I read a lot of amateur screenplays that were people in the same position as me, because there's just a website where you could exchange them or whatever, get credits for reading other people's. And I read so many screenplays that had where I was in like the first act, or either the comedy, the dialogue, the characters, or the first act, or even the second part of the second act were so amazing. But I didn't really read very many that had it all together. And I said, wow, like, this thing is so strong, like, in such a strong concept. And I mean, I suffered from the same issue. So it is a case of I got it, right? So let's see if I can tell the story of Legally Blonde, the musical, through the structure of the music, like it, through talking about the structure, so that I don't have to introduce you. But it is based on the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie. I did not read the book, but I'm pretty sure the movie's based on the book and the musical is based on the movie. But I will say, like I said, it's a great musical. And I think particularly for youth, it's, I mean, it's very high energy, or the performance I went to is, but, you know, is a coming of age story. So I think, like, it's cool, especially for teenagers, that this show is like high school and early college students to perform it. It is about a woman on her journey through womanhood. So I think it's important, especially as a father of a daughter, and a lot of the obstacles that are in her path. So just in case you're a fan of the movie or you're the book or whatever, like, one of the things I talked to my daughter about after one of the performances is, like, I was like, man, it really makes me want to watch the movie, because I wonder how they did some of this stuff in the movie, because there's so much that they can express in song, like, that you can, like, that would be really hard to express in subtext in a movie. I was like, holy cow. So I will watch the movie. So, so let's get to, so the ordinary world is what we're looking for first, right? And this is really well done in the musical. The musical opens I mean, it's, like, really well done, because, so the first song is called Oh My God, You Guys, and I think it's a 2-part song. I don't know. So just in case you're an expert at musical structures or rules of musicals, I know nothing. So I'm just one of those people that's going to spout out about musicals. So, I mean, I know there's something called the I Want song or whatever, but I really don't know. Like, so I know nothing, just to clue you in on that. So this is not a instructional thing. This is just something that I think is interesting and sleepy. So the first song it opens with the Delta News, which is Elle Woods, who we'll meet in a little while, who will follow her on her journey. This is her sorority, and apparently her sorority house. And so it opens with the members of her sorority, but not Elle, talking about Elle getting engaged to Warner. And it takes place in UCLA. And a couple things to note is that and again, this is only my interpretation. L seems to be like beloved. And so she's beloved. Yeah, I think that's a safe thing to say. Maybe even the leader of this group of women. Let me see what other of my notes. So first we see them singing and they're talking about, oh wait, I have another page of notes. So let me go to that page. Okay. Yeah. So, Delta knew we haven't met Elle yet. We're just having this build up, and that's the first thing. Yeah, her friends are so happy for her, so very excited. And I guess you could say it's like it doesn't. I don't think anything other than like this does not look down on anybody. At least my interpretation. This musical. Well, it does satire, whatever it. But it is a pretty traditional, exaggerated version of a California sorority house. Oh, another thing I would say that's going to be important is that it establishes the values of our ordinary world, which is like right now, a traditional marriage role, and as like an upwardly mobile couple. Maybe that's like a gross generalization, but what I really like is in the second half of the song, we meet Elle. Elle is at the mall picking out the perfect dress for her engagement to Warner, which is what we're anticipating will happen very soon and what her sorority members are excited about. Still, this first song, oh my God, you guys. Now, this is again, as far as the story goes, this is such a great thing because we see very quickly, we already know Elle's beloved and a leader. Her friends are happy for her genuinely and that she's going to get engaged to this Warner guy. And then we see this little scene that you see. I mean, I guess in a musical, there's no throwaway scenes, but that the saleswoman tries to get the best of Elle, but we see that she is the master of this domain. I think it sounds like I'm reading from a story structure book, but it really is like, she says, oh, no. This is my world. Like you're working with me in my world. And she's just like, she is trying to find the perfect dress, and nothing gets by Elle Woods. Let's see any other notes about it. The dress will seal the deal, make a grown man kneel. But so, like, even with the selecting the dress, she's she's really thinking about it. And maybe you could say that these values are shallow or materialistic, but I think it's almost like even the surface of the musical. What I like more about it is like, I don't know, I guess even though it's imaginary, there is a realness to it. I don't know, maybe it's just where I was, right? Okay, so that's you. Elle Woods, master of her domain. Delta Nu, getting the perfect dress to get engaged. So then Need, this is another one that really just comes out. That's what I'm like, man, like, okay, like you need, I think in this one, it's like, you could say, oh, something is missing, something's incorrect, right? And the song is sung by Warner, who sings the song Serious. So they're meeting at dinner with Elle. The expectation is that they're going to be engaged. This is their, whatever, they're getting ready to graduate from college. This is going to be the next phase of their relationship in their life. And storybook, like UCLA storybook, a sorority story. And so this song is sung by Warner mostly, and then then Elle. And at first it's like serious, we're getting serious about this relationship. But we realize, so Warner's like a I don't know. I guess we'll explain it. And here's the other thing is like, I feel like there's multiple like B characters or whatever you want to call them, like, but that have their own kind of mini arcs, like Emmett, Warner, and no, I forget the other character's name because I'm just thinking of the actress that played her in the movie. So like, okay, but so even Warner, who is probably. Like, even Warner has, like, an actual small arc where at the end, Warner is not necessarily a deep person, but anyway, I wanted to mention that. But even Warner's, like, a flawed, like, character that needs to do some growth. So Elle goes there, expects them to get engaged, but Warner sings a song, Serious. Let's see where I got any lyrics. I'm going to be a senator by the time I'm 30. I need someone serious. Any other things? I need someone less a Marilyn, more of a Jackie. And then Elle even says, like I'm from Malibu, man. Like, what do you mean? Like, but that's basically it. He's going to Harvard Law to start his journey, kind of like interesting, different than the characters in Multiplex, because Warner seemed to be doing it from maybe the similar, but like Warner's following this path of Ivy towards what he was thinking is going to be greatness. And Elle was part of this ordinary world. He's going to his new world. And he needs to get serious and be with someone serious who could be, like he thinks he's on to greatness. And Elle's just not serious enough. And so, of course, she's hurt, shocked, very sad. Okay, so I had to get the playbill because I was like, man, the third thing, so go. So I don't know, this next song, I think this is where story structure gets interesting because it's kind of in between need and go. And the other thing is that it starts to show us who Elle really is in a good way she's a heroine. And it also, like, shows it's her first challenge, right? How is she going to react to Warner telling her they're breaking up because she's not serious enough and he's going to Harvard Law. And Elle's reaction is, so it's only one song, but it's so like, it takes place in multiple venues and in multiple, it has multiple layers, even to what you want. Because it's what you want is right in front of you. Okay, let me see. So I don't know if it is, like, I think it's close. It's go, but she's not crossing the threshold. So again, this is where I struggle, like, oh boy, like, I don't know, this is why story structure is, like, timeless. Okay, so this part of the story, Elle decides, like, one, what do you mean, Warner? Like, what you want is right in front of you. And I am serious, so I guess I just got to prove I'm serious now. How do I prove I'm serious? Get into Harvard Law. Okay, well, that's not exactly easy. But again, we want Elle's who we're going to be rooting for all the way to the end. So also, like, Elle's portrayed as, I don't think I got to this, like a stereotypical blonde, like surface-wise. I guess that's clear. And very beautiful because the looks do come into this in multiple ways. And in some sense, well, whatever, like how you appear, even it just becomes, it's played with really well in the musical. So she has to get into Harvard Law, which means she has to get a good, she already has great grades because she's a fashion merchandising major, I think, which Harvard does not. They're like, wait a second. But so she has to get a really high LSAT score during the final semester of college when everybody's just like letting loose. So she has to make a choice, so it's like not the songs to what you want is to like everybody. People are singing it 2L. Like what you want is right in front of you. If you want to be serious, you got to be serious and study. Or this temptation's right in front of you to have fun, and to Warner and then to Harvard. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Apply to Harvard. What you want is right in front of you. What you want. I don't get. I have the book too, but because there's like partying. Don't you want to party? So okay, so yeah, I feel like the crossing the threshold is this and the next song. So there's this song. So spoiler, she gets into Harvard, and it's for a musical. It's really cool. So like you should see the musical so you could see how that's accomplished. It's probably one of my favorite dance breaks of all time. But there's also other dance breaks within this show that are really good too. And also my daughter said, is all the music from that dance break in the cast album? I mean, the Broadway cast album? She's like, no, only one third of the dance break because it's so long. Dance breaks when they dance, but show, not tell. Okay. So Elle gets into Harvard, but then there's even a literal crossing of the threshold, I believe. She gets to Harvard. So first we get this like view of that new world without Elle in it briefly, where we see Emmett, who is like either just like a graduate. I don't know how law school works, but he's kind of like a assistant professor, or I guess he has to have graduated because he has his law degree. And he's licensed to practice law. So let's just say that. But he kind of is more of a peer. Maybe he's like in a peer role, peer advisor. Let's say he's a peer advisor. Because he's more of a peer character. I don't know how law school works. But so Emmett's like what is it? Not mentor, but he's the leader. He's the wisest of the students or whatever. He's a leader, yeah. So we meet Emmett and then like 3 freshmen in the version I saw, or 3 new law students, all of which are unbelievably high achievers from 3 different worlds themselves. And so then I think like this and then the next part are kind of like establishing the rules of this new world. So it's kind of like you're entering the new world and you're starting the challenges or the step 4 at the same time. But I mean, again, I'm not exactly an expert on this, and maybe I'll change it. But so we get this brief song where we meet these 3 super high achievers, including Enid, who will be in it, Emmett and Enid. Emmett will play a big role, and Emmett has kind of a arc. Enid kind of maybe has a mini arc or whatever. So whatever Elle, so we meet these 3 characters in the new world. Then Elle arrives in the new world, and right away we get the sense, okay, these are these people are a big deal. They're not going to take Elle seriously, and they don't necessarily think she belongs in their world. Emmett is a little bit more neutral, I think, initially, oh man, and he's just a good person. And not that the other 3 are bad people. They're just like, hey, we're high achievers. You don't belong here, kind of, or there's something not right with this. You're too different or whatever. So let's see. So that's called the Harvard Variations in this one. And then there's a song, Law in the Water. So they go from, I guess this is where she fully crosses the threshold, because then they go to the first class of the thing. And so there's a class with Professor Callahan, and Professor Callahan's the heavy or whatever you want to call it, like, and he sings a song that expresses the values of Harvard law. I mean, in the musical, I'm not saying anything about, like, and of his version of, like, what it means to be a lawyer, which is law in the water, which kind of means we'll pour, like, we're going to pour water over your head. But it's all about, at least to me, it, like, paints this contrast, right, between the world Elle came from, where, okay, she was beloved, now she's not necessarily beloved. It seemed like a world full of good, supportive people, too. She had a support system. She was a master of her domain. And generally, I mean, even though it was brief, it seemed like a world of kindness. He's saying this is a world, like, where, you know, you do what's best for you and your clients, but always what's best for you, kind of. And the song kind of lays that out. Then Elle also learns some other rules. So now she's fully in this new world because she's not prepared for class. So another student, Vivian, kind of like is not supportive of Elle. So then Elle leaves class because she's asked to leave class because she's not prepared. Then we see that Elle doesn't even care. Like, Emmett's like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, I just want to meet, like, I'm just trying to catch up with Warner. And then she even says to Vivian, like, why would you, like, I came from a world where we supported one another. Why would you make me look bad? And she goes, welcome to the new world. I mean, more or less. And also we learn that, well, is that it? That we also learned that what do you call it, like Warner and Vivian are together. So, like, I was like, yeah, I'm only here to prove to Warner I'm serious. Like, so okay, so this is all like the challenges, the rising challenges, search. So then, the next song is Positive. So this is like really interesting, and I guess like I gotta condense it, right? So this song really contains like 3 different ways. Okay, so Elle is like, okay, now I'm faced with a bigger challenge. I'm not welcome here. I don't know, like the values are totally different than what I think. So then she has like this Greek chorus, which is her Greek chorus. And she says, I don't know what to do. Like, and they're like, oh, well, we're within your imagination. We'll help you brainstorm. So she goes like, so these are our first helpers, which are helpers from the past. And they say, let's do, like, why don't you, like, you're better than, like, it's all about your looks. Or no, first I think they say, let's take a stern approach. And then Elle says, no, we can't do that. We got to be positive. Okay, let's take like a beauty-based approach. You could, like, you're more beautiful than her. Well, I don't know if that's going to work either. Just that. It's like not my old, again, in the structural way, I'm just laughing because it's so, like, she goes, all my old tools aren't working. And then that gives her this idea. Maybe there's one more time, like, thing where she says, well, I'll just change. I'll try to become like Vivian. So then she goes, and this is your meeting with the mentor moment, right? And that's Paulette is the character's name. I always want to say, but like, so she goes and meets, and she says, I want to change my hair. I want to get a brown bob. And the next song, I think, and maybe this is like, I don't know, and yeah, I guess what mentors do in stories. Paulette says basically in her song Ireland's about It's a comedy song, big number, but it's also about like love, which again becomes like is like, oh, why are you going to be serious? I'm doing it for love. Another essential part of the songs I missed, but she sings a song about Ireland, which is a metaphor for attaining love, like perfect love or whatever. And she basically says, I mean, this is totally paraphrasing. Al, there's some, like, one, I'm not going to change your hair. You're not in a great place. I'm also going to tell you, well, I don't know you. There's something clearly special about you. You're clearly capable. And she does say in the song, if you can't win Warner back, more or less, like, what does that mean? Like, if there's this idea of Ireland, which is perfect love, if anyone can attain that, it's you. So you're going to do it. Like, I'm confident you're going to do it. So Elle says, okay. And then there's this party scene, right? And Elle gets invited to the party scene, and she also gets set up for disappointment by Vivian. But the party scene is cool because, one, it just shows Elle's heroism. Okay, she arrives at the party, determined again to do her best and fit in this world and get Warner, right? We also, again, see the values of this world because Vivian tells Warner, like, hey, this is a room where there's serious people are. And these people are going to be seriously connected and seriously successful. And then it comes up that, like, hey, Al, you just don't belong in this world. Even Warner kind of says it, like, and kind of, I don't know, like, Al kind of gets, and again, this is a new rising challenge because this is all her peers. And they basically say, you're not capable. Like, she was just told, there's something special about you. And I know you're capable. I just don't know, like, Paulette's like, I know you're capable. But basically, I guess in between the lines, Paulette's saying you still probably have to attain, according to story structure, some more tools. So then she goes out and then she says, okay, well, this is not working because she gets embarrassed, and told, like, yeah, you don't belong here. Straight up, they say that more or less. Then she goes out and she's on her own, upset, and she meets Emmett again. And Emmett's, like, out just for a night stroll or whatever, at least in my version of the musical that I saw. And he says, what's wrong? And she says, well, I got into Harvard Law School to show Warner I'm serious, and now I'm having trouble winning him back. He says, wait a second, you, like, this is one of the best lines in the musical. What kind of magical world are you from? Malibu. So it's like, so he, whatever, I guess I'm trying to condense this because I know we're close to time here and I'll go long, but then Emmett takes interest in Elle, but he also starts to point out some, like, inconsistencies, right? So Emmett's like, later Emma will become, like, a different character, but at this point, Emmett's like a truth teller. I guess, yeah, there you go. It's like Sir Davos, like a truth teller. One of my favorite truth tellers, Sir Davos. And he says, listen, like, would you like this Emmett song is Chip on Your Shoulder, another great number. It takes place over, again, another extended, really cool how they go across locations, but also meanings. I guess there was a reprise of Sirius at the party. Because, yeah, that, like, briefly at the party, we get back to, like, even before Al gets embarrassed, her and Warner talk about how good things were in their old world, but that just reinforces to Warner that he needs to be in this world and Al doesn't belong. Okay, so then Emmett sings to Elle, like Emmett becomes this next phase. So like that Paulette said, okay, there's clearly something special about you and you're capable. I just don't know what it is. And Emmett says, okay, if you're capable, this is what you have to do to show are you really serious? Because if you're serious, like this is what I've had to do. And this is like, I've actually been on a similar journey. I didn't think about that, but Emmett really has returned on, like Emmett's already been, in some sense, most of Emmett's story arc took place when this story didn't exist. Like we're just seeing the final stages of Emmett's story arc, maybe, I guess. But yeah, Emmett's like, I've been through this already. And actually, like, for different unfair reasons, like had to like navigate some of this. And also, like, maybe I brought in some tools that you didn't necessarily have. Like, so I'm going to offer you these tools, which is studying really hard and not being distracted and focusing. And so they kind of developed this friendship but a friendship of like equals, but, you know, also like out of balance in some ways because like by studying, so basically Emmett walks Elle through like, hey, like this is how you study. Also pointing out kind of, hey, did you notice that you know, what's this with you and Warner? Like you're a different person for him now. Like Emmett's the first one to know she's changed. And that almost like, I'm sorry, Warner, Emmett notices Elle's changed or Kate, like, and that she's moved out of value with Warner almost. He's like, hey, like, don't you notice how intelligent you are when he's not around kind of thing? And like, so like, hey, are you sure this is fitting into your new value system? And now I'm starting to get mixed up. Well, I guess I'll just do the whole first act and then we'll do act 2 as a part of another episode. So Elle reflects. I don't remember how that song goes. Elle reflects. I'm going to have to look up the lyrics of that one. I don't know. So basically what happens is, with Emmett's tutelage, we start to see Elle performing heroic acts, or maybe just one heroic act in this, and then a couple in the second act. But like, she helps Paulette get back her dog, Emmett and Elle together. Then Elle clearly shows that she's excelled. Like, so we get this scene where she is like, things are starting to come together as far as like, she's now like, starting to fit in this world. She doesn't necessarily fit in with the other peers, but she's become capable because now she's like, she wins this like mock trial with, Warner. And like, even it calls back to like the earlier scenes of things she was learning. And she does it in a creative way. So we see kind of like, holy cow. Now we also start to wonder, like, it was like some good misdirection of like, wow, everyone else is starting to see Elle in the same light we as the audience are seeing her. And she's seeing herself in that way. And man, I mean, like everything's going Elle's way now. But there's also, I think a little bit earlier, we get a hint of like where things could go because Elle says like, cause there's a lot about love, right? I'm doing this for love. Like I'm going to be serious for love because I love Warner. Warner loves me. He's just got to realize I'm serious. Then she talks about, is this law? Like she starts to develop this love of the law, which is really, again, a metaphor of like what she can do for other people because she's a heroine, you know, but like how it feels to use, like when she helps Paulette get her dog back. And this is something that Emmett has opened Elle's eyes up to through their kind of like journey together, or It's not a mentor-mentee thing, but I mean, maybe it is, like, but, you know, like, of peers. So then Elle's eyes are open to this new world that, like, actually is an alternative value system to what the main, like, all the other characters are tuned into. I didn't think about this till now, but it stands in contrast to Law in the Water, of why Callahan loves Law is not why Elle loves Law, and probably not why Emmett loves Law, or at this time why anybody at the rest of the school loves Law. And so actually this is powerful. I didn't think about this, but like we really see that in the second act, we're going to have a clash of new values, like a value of old values of this non-ordinary world Elle's entered into, in a new value system that is a part of a carryover from the world Elle's come from, because I think like having the Delta News there shows us support and whatever. And then with Paulette and Emmett, like the Elle's kind of developing this new, like a hybrid value system that will serve us in the second act of the musical. So I didn't think of that because and actually it pays off, because at the end of the second act or first act, we suspect Elle has become capable, but we know there's still a second act. So it's like, and so it and again, masterfully does like a 2-note finale of the first act, or 2-note. What I mean is like 2 emotional shifts, or 3, I guess, because Elle shows she's capable. And then quickly we find out that, what's his name? Warner and Vivian are going to be engaged because they got this big internship. That's like the way to prove you're serious. It became the like, not red herring, but the talisman or whatever. If Elle gets this internship, she's proven she's serious. But Warner and Vivian and Enid get the internship first. And it no longer matters if Elle's serious or not, because then Warner and Vivian get engaged. And at first, Elle's like really down. But then they close with this super number, which is like, Emmett's like, by the way, you have proven you're serious. And actually the song even says, I feel so much better than before, is part of the chorus, which is like, it's interesting, man. Like talking about this is cool because it's like it's kind of like a reflection. So like, again, where is this in the story circle? I totally got like, so we went through the trials and tribulations, and then, so search, you need, go, search, find and take. I guess this is find, right? Because, I think like, the take happens in a little while, like in the second act. But like she finds that she loves Law a little bit earlier. Oh yeah, I guess it's so obvious. I can't believe like, so the song is so much better. She even says it like in a way about her and Warner's relationship, their past relationship. This feels so much better. So the fact that, and I guess that makes sense. Like her journey in the first act has paid off. Like she's navigated this difficult circumstance. She's adapted to it. She's faced these challenges, and now she's not totally changed, but she's like proven herself a heroine, and we're rooting for her, and now she like, we're not it's almost like she's on the verge of some sort of great discovery, but after some more exploration, right? But it's like, oh, we knew we were rooting for you the whole time, and you've already surprised us yet again, Elle, because she's achieved what she set out to achieve, but now has it has somewhat of a new meaning. I guess at the end of the show, it'll have a totally new meaning, right? But, so she gets the fourth spot in the internship, but it's yeah, so much better. Look at my name up on that list. So, I don't know. And it's also that she's been officially recognized for her effort and her success. But I guess in that sense, why do we need a second act? Because it was just replacing something false with another thing at this time that feels good, but is also somewhat proven false. Warner, proving to Warner I'm serious so he'll love me. I mean, no offense to Warner, it's just not worth it in the end. And Elle's much more than that, right? And I mean, that's why we go on the whole 2-act journey. But it's you're so much, this feels so much better right now. I mean, I guess speaking as addict, it's you got to be careful, right? If you stop drinking, you don't want to, you want to replace it with something that, usually you can replace it with something else that's also not great, that's also false. Or you could slowly replace it with something that takes a whole nother act with 9 more songs to get to, which we'll see. So I guess that's a good place to close. Good night, everybody. All right, everybody, this is Scoots. This is a Tuck You In message about Sleep With Me Plus. If you're still listening and you believe in the podcast, you see, how can I help this podcast that helps me so much? You can do that by signing up for Sleep With Me Plus. It'll help you even more because it's made with you in mind. It's the ultimate way to listen to Sleep With Me, but it's also what enables us to produce the show. So, but I haven't been really good at getting that message out. I've tried different ways, and they just haven't been working. And so I'm changing up. I'm just reading right from the listeners who support the show, their testimonials. And this is from Katie from Oakland. Been listening to Sleep With Me for 6 or 7 years. I first started listening because I would have insomnia in the middle of the night. And the stories gave me something to keep me from thinking about the things that would wake me up even more. But now I just play it all night long, and it helps me stay asleep or at least get back to sleep quickly. I no longer have insomnia, which is everything. I've been a patron since before 2020. I recommend this podcast to everyone, especially those who can't afford more expensive interventions. I want to see this podcast continue and help others. I really love the TV retellings. TNG, Great British Baking Show are my favorites. I really like the shows I already know the plot, so I don't have to listen too carefully. And, I spend $10 a month for consistent sleep without medication or any other side effects by supporting Sleep With Me. That's cheaper than a nice glass of wine at a restaurant. So sleep is everything. Thank you for everything, Katie says. Thank you, Katie, for supporting the show. If you relate to Sleep With Me, I didn't even think about that. If Sleep With Me is worth more than 2 beers to you a month or a nice glass of wine, one glass, think about it, because we could, the support goes a lot further than 1 glass of wine. You support the show at $14 a month. That enables us to make 8 brand new episodes. So think about it. Sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody.